The most profitable thing in a restaurant, it's not food, it's wine. And today, I'll show you how I create wine lists for restaurants so that the customers get the best experience possible and the restaurant gets its profit. My name is Garry and I'm a WSET3 qualified sommelier. Let's jump right into it. The most important thing to understand is pricing. A bottle of wine in wholesale costs X, in retail it's 2X, and in restaurant it's from 4 to 6X, right? But it's not possible to sell a bottle of 19 crimes in a 3-star Michelin restaurant. It's not the price range and not the level of quality of wine they used to serve in 3 Michelin stars, right? And neither there is a chance to sell a $1,000 bottle of Chateau Margaux in a local bistro around the corner. So first of all, when I start thinking about a wine list, I want to know the price range of the dishes in the menu. The basic rule of thumb is that a bottle of wine should cost the same as 2 complete dishes for 2 persons. A bottle of wine is created for 2 persons, right? For us, it may seem a bit strange because it's a lot of alcohol, half a bottle per person, and it's not very healthy, but back in the day, like in 20th, 19th century, people used to drink a lot more wine. Half a bottle of wine per person was like an average consumption. A bottle per person was just also not that much. And of course, today we understand all the effects alcohol has on our health. And recently I've made an entire video about that. You can easily find it on the channel. But I'm just explaining why a bottle of wine is designed for 2 and what are the deep roots of this rule. A bottle having the same price as 2 main dishes. Like if in the menu we have a beef steak for 50 bucks or 50 euros, the bottle of ideal steak wine should be around $100, probably just a bit more. And remember that in a restaurant there is markup for this wine, so in the supermarket you can buy this wine for around 25 bucks and in wholesale it might be about $15. These are the basic guidelines. Sometimes the final pricing might be a bit different, but basically you know all the math now. And you might want to ask me, Garry, why do they charge so much? I mean, $15 wholesale and $100 in restaurant, it's a ripoff. And yes, it may seem so, but the restaurant business is one of the most complicated and sometimes less profitable. Just look at these statistics. The US National Restaurant Association estimates a 20% success rate for all restaurants. About 60% of restaurants fail in their first year of operation and 80% fail within 5 years of opening. 1 out of 5 restaurants will become profitable because there is a lot of stuff to do. You have to pay the rent, pay chef, pay the sommelier, the bills, the food, there are leftovers, so there is a lot of stuff to consider. And that is why wine is the most profitable thing in a restaurant. It just needs some decent storage conditions, not too warm, some humidity regulations, and basically that is it. You buy a couple of wine preservation systems and pour wine by glasses, sell whole bottles and just make money. And for customers, wine is a great addition to food. Like, you're unlikely to drink wine without food, but food goes especially well when paired with a good glass of wine. So it's just about the unique wine drinking experience. Drinking a glass of wine in a restaurant is totally different from drinking it, say, at home. So that's what the people pay for. And by the way, if you want to dive deeper into the world of wine, consider subscribing to my free newsletter. I'll share my wine tasting experiences, sometimes some fine dining, sometimes some wineries visits as well. No spam, just my personal experience and an opportunity to keep in touch more in person than just in comments on YouTube. The link is in the description down below. And with wine by glasses, it's even simpler. There is a clear strategy of pricing wine by glasses. 1 glass costs the price of a whole bottle or the price of an appetizer from the menu. An appetizer or some salad normally costs less than the main course dish. Like if the steak is $50, an appetizer might cost around $10. If a paella in a Spanish restaurant may cost 25 euros, a tapas might be around 5 euros. It means that an average glass of wine will cost 5 euros in this restaurant And probably the whole bottle of this wine will cost the same €5. Because when opening a bottle of wine to pour by glasses, the restaurant is at risk that the wine may go off. Of course, there are Coravin-like preservation systems, but they're not normally used for cheap wines and generally in cheap restaurants. A Coravin may cost around $200-300 or euros, and for a small bistro struggling just to make ends meet, it may be a bit of money, you know? That is why they try to pour by glasses only the wines that are 100% sure that people will buy, like Pinot Grigio, Chardonnay, Sauvignon Blanc, Merlot, the varieties which are very popular, everyone knows about them and everyone drinks them. Like Tannat, grape variety, can't be a wine by glasses in a local bistro, only in the south of France probably, not in the US and definitely not in Australia. Another important question is what type of food do they serve in the restaurant? Local wine for local food is the best decision, period, because it's just a pairing proven by centuries. If it's a French restaurant, serve French wine. If it's a Spanish, like paella, seafood kind of thing, serve Spanish wine. You can go even deeper on this geographical division. Wine from Bordeaux to beef à la bourguignon, or oysters from Atlantic paired with Loire Valley muscadet. There is a corny expression that wine is a living, breathing thing, and I hate the banality of it, but it's so true, because wine is actually a product of the place. There is no such combination of soil, climatic conditions, aspect, and everything that forms a term the French call the terroir. And in this particular place, so each wine is indeed unique, and there is no better match than local wine for local food. Another strategy that I personally like to use is to create wine pairings for each of the courses, like they do in Michelin restaurants. For each course, they serve the wine curated by the sommelier of the establishment. And the same principle can be applied to more modest places not holding Michelin stars. If on the menu there are 5 main dishes to choose from, let's provide 5 wines by glasses to pair each of the dishes. If it's some Spanish paella, let it be just a glass of simple white Spanish wine with a hint of minerality and citrus to it. If it's like chicken with some white sauce, a medium-bodied white could work, like Chardonnay Chambly. Why not? If it's a ribeye steak, let it be full-bodied Australian Shiraz, for instance. And the third thing is the philosophy of the whole place. Is it a traditional dining place with classic music and stewards in black suits? Or it's a more casual, modern place, more informal, aimed at the audience at their 30s, probably even late 20s? Or it's a quirky wine bar all about natural wines, biodynamic wines, eco, bio, that kind of stuff? The wine served in these 3 places will be totally different, right? A restaurant owner is aware of the portrait of his or her customer before opening a restaurant. Is it a fine dining place for married couples? Is it a wine bar for students? The food and wine totally depends on the final customer. Like, it's almost an insanity to have a bottle of Dom Perignon in youth bar with an accent on modern biological screwcap wines, but at a fine dining place, it will be a disaster not to have at least a couple of bottles. Because in a local restaurant, there is little to no chance to sell a bottle of Dom P. But in a fine dining restaurant, they are selling like hotcakes, and vice versa. This funny Macabeo Sapiens bottle would feel quite awkward in a Michelin star restaurant. The same with the location of the restaurant. If it's a central place, the rent is probably ridiculously high, and consequently the markup on wine and food should be more. So there is no sense to serve hot dogs with cheap Chardonnay there. Except the case if these are the best hot dogs in the world and the whole world already knows about it. In this case, it may be worth it. But generally, the better, the more central the location is, more markup you will see on everything on the menu. There are some exceptions, like a paradise resort with a Michelin-starred restaurant in it, but there is also an unbeatable experience here. A luxury experience far from civilization, and that really costs a buck. Okay, hope that I managed to shed some light on the mystery of how wine lists in the restaurants are made. If you need a wine list for your place or something, just write to my social media for any inquiries. All the links are in the description down below, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.